Okay. Good evening. Yesterday I told you about the trading account, profit and loss account, and balance sheet. In that, okay, one by one, some of the explanations, some of the items explanations I'm going to give. Opening stock. When we go for trading account, opening stock is the first. Opening stock is nothing but the stock of last year. Opening stock is nothing but the stock of last year. And purchases. When we go for purchases, we have to take into account the total purchases. Okay, both cash purchases and credit purchases you have to take. Okay, and purchase of any assets you should not take in this. Okay, whether it may be for cash purchases or for credit purchases, purchase of assets you should not take into account. Next, yeah, goods sent on consignment for okay approval basis. They must also be shown separately. They should not be included in purchases because it is goods. Goods on consignment sent either for sale or for return basis. Those things you should not take into account on in these purchases. Mind it, you have to take into account only cash purchases and credit purchases. Okay. Now, when we come across purchases, one important thing that you have to take is whether we are coming across any returns. That is, whether we are receiving any goods of bad quality, of difference in prices. Okay, up to they are not up to the mark. Some goods will be given back to us. Okay, so we will call them as purchase returns. Purchase returns, you can deduct that from the total purchases, or you can show that on the credit side of the trading account. Okay, one more thing that you have to remember is when we come across purchases back, that is purchase returns. Okay, this purchase returns it is also known as returns inwards. Sometimes they'll give as purchase returns and sometimes they'll give return inwards. In that case, also you have to consider that as purchase returns. Okay, you can either you can either deduct that from total purchases or you can show that on the credit side of the trading account. Next, freight carriage inwards. Whatever it may be, the expenses that we come across, freight. That is, what is this freight, sir? This freight is nothing but the expenditure which we come across directly when we are bringing the materials from the supplier. Okay, so we'll call that thing as carriage or freight, whatever it may be. And when it is coming to us, when we are bringing the goods, we have to consider that as carriage inwards. Okay, the next thing is manufacturing wages or productive wages or simply wages. This is nothing but the amount that we are directly paying to the persons. Okay, who are carrying the goods or bringing the goods, who are doing that. And one more thing you have to keep in mind is when you go for a trial balance and when you come across in the trial balance wages and salaries, you may ask me, sir, he had given wages and salaries. So where we have to show this? When you come across wages and salaries, compulsory you have to show that in the trading account on the debit side only. Next, import or customs duty and excess duty. This is nothing but when we are, taking the goods from an outside party. Okay, when we go for this ship, the on the sea or in the air, whenever you come across, compulsory this amount is to be paid on the goods whatever we receive. So it should be treated as a it should be treated as a direct expense. Customs is levied on the goods imported and exported. Excess duty is imposed on goods produced in the country. So, in customs duty or duty on purchases is given, okay, in trial balance, it should be debited to trading account. This is the thing that we come across. Okay, so another thing is dock dues and clearing charges. When we are taking some goods by ship, all the goods will be kept on the dock, and we have to take into account the responsibility of clearing those things. So this dock dues whatever it may be that we have to pay, and the clearing charges also they will appear on the debit side of trial balance. Next, octroi. When goods are purchased within certain municipal limits, generally octroi duty has to be paid. Okay, certain limits in a country, you'll have some limits. And when you are producing the goods, and when you are taking the goods, compulsory you have to pay the octroi. And this octroi is nothing but a direct expenses that we come across. And these expenses, mind it, these expenses they are incurred before making sales. So compulsory they will be treated as direct expenses only. They will be treated as direct expenses only, and that's why they must be shown on the debit side of trading account. Next, factory expenses. Whatever it may be that we come across factory expenses in the factory. Suppose the office is located at one place and the factory will be located at far away place. Whatever it may be, the factory expenses that we come across. For example, factory rent, factory lighting, okay, factory cleaning, okay, next coal, gas, and water, factory lighting, all these factory insurance, whatever it may be, all these things they must be considered as direct expenses and they must be shown on the debit side of trading account. Okay, coming to credit side. That is after taking into account the opening stock, the purchases, and all the direct expenses, whatever we come across. Okay, after that, we are ready to sell that and we are selling that. And when we come across sales, they will be shown on the credit side because sales is a direct income that we come across. So sales must be shown on the credit side of trading account. Then comes the very important thing, that is nothing but closing stock. Okay, when we are purchasing goods and when we are selling the goods, some goods, okay, they will be with us as unsold stock, unsold goods. And this unsold goods whatever we are having, we have to consider that as closing stock. And closing stock, it will be in quantity. It will be in quantity. For example, okay, when we are having 20 boxes of some commodities, and after that, okay, we purchased 80 commodities, 80 boxes. So total altogether we come across 100 boxes. Out of 100 boxes, we sold 80 boxes, and the remaining boxes which were not sold, that is unsold stock, it is treated as closing stock. And this 20 boxes they will be in quantity. And when you come across this final accounts, compulsory you have to value the closing stock. And how to value the closing stock? Here, every person, they must remember, okay, two things. That when we are going for closing stock, you have to take into account two prices. Okay, first one is cost price and second one is market price. We have to compare the two prices, which price is less and which price is more, whether the cost price is less or whether the market price is less. We have to see these two prices, and at the lowest price, only you have to value the stock. That is, suppose for example, if cost price is less and market price is more, you have to value the closing stock or the unsold stock at cost price only, but not at market price. Okay, you may ask me, so what will happen when we go for market price? When we go and when we value the closing stock at market price, one thing you have to keep in memory is today's closing stock will become the opening stock of tomorrow. And whenever the fluctuations you will come across in price, okay, when you value the closing stock at market price, whenever the price of tomorrow when it comes down, you are going to incur a loss. That's why it is always better and it is always stubborn that we have to value the unsold stock or closing stock either at cost price or market price, whichever is less. If market price is less, you have to value at market price, and or if cost price is less, you have to value at cost price. Okay, next we'll come across accidents, fire accidents, all of a sudden. Okay, when we come across fire accident and when the goods are burnt, you cannot retrieve the goods back. So you have to consider that as a loss. And whatever it may be the loss that you come across, that loss you have to show on the credit side of trading account. So many people they'll ask me, so why we have to take into account this loss on fire on credit side? The important thing that you have to keep in memory is when there is a fire accident, then only the stock was destroyed. Suppose if there is no fire accident, okay, whatever it may be, the goods that we are having, they will go to the closing stock only. And when you are showing the closing stock on the credit side, these goods also they will go and they will be included. But as there is a fire accident and as there is the loss, that's why the complete loss of goods on fire must be shown on the credit side of trading account. Now, by adding both credit side and debit side, you will come to know about the gross profit or gross loss. But whatever it may be, gross profit or gross loss, it must be transferred to profit and loss account because we are having some indirect incomes as well as indirect expenses. These indirect expenses and these indirect incomes, okay, you have to take into account, otherwise you won't get the correct net profit or net loss. That's why they must be transferred to profit and loss account compulsory, okay, without any default, without any other way, other idea, other thinking, you have to transfer to profit and loss account. This is compulsory. If you get gross profit, you have to transfer. If you get gross loss, then also you have to transfer that to profit and loss account. Now, profit and loss account we are going. When we go for profit and loss account, okay, after transferring the gross profit or gross loss, whatever it may be, you have to take into account what are the indirect incomes. Indirect incomes means those incomes which are not related to any production activity. Apart from production activity, whatever it may be, the incomes that you receive, those things will take that as indirect incomes. These indirect incomes must be taken into account because they are the incomes. Because they are the incomes. Okay. And in the same way, you will come across indirect expenses. Okay. Like whatever it may be, the expenses that we come across apart from factory. Okay. Apart from factory and belongs to office and selling, those things only you have to take into account as indirect expenses, and these indirect expenses you have to deduct. You have to deduct, then only you'll come to know about the correct net profit that we come across. If you come across gross loss, these indirect expenses you have to add and indirect incomes you have to deduct. Then only you'll come to know about the net loss. So that is why we have to take into account the profit and loss account after preparation of trading account. This is compulsory. This is compulsory. And regarding this profit and loss account, what are the different items and what are the explanations and what are the important things that we come across in profit and loss account? You have to hear or you will come across in the next coming class. Okay, so I'm completing, I mean, stopping here at this junction, and tomorrow I'm going to continue regarding profit and loss account as well as the balance sheet. Thank you very much.